Welcome to the Bruins Benders Podcast, Season 4, Episode 14 with Maddie and Smitty, brought to you on the Inside the Rink Podcast Network at InsideTheRink.com. In this episode, we will discuss, would you invest resources into making this Bruins team a contender? Also, Elliotte Friedman's report about Trent Frederic and the Bruins reportedly not being close on a deal. And the Bruins have a decision to make on Marc McLaughlin. All that and more coming up on this episode. Hit subscribe on Inside the Rink's YouTube channel and follow this QR code on your screen to purchase event tickets through Ticketmaster. Follow us each on X at Benders Smitty and at Mr. Matty Barry. We're also at Bruins Benders. And here we are with the Bruins digging themselves out of a little bit of a hole here on the West Coast. Started out poorly, but all of a sudden back from the dead a little bit.
Yeah, 2-2 on the trip now. It looked like it was going to be a disaster. And now with some good fortune in Edmonton, maybe they have a winning road trip. Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk it, honestly? I mean, the first game, Vancouver, they kind of blast them. They play one of their better games of the year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Calgary, they come back and from a 3-1 deficit when it looked like it was going to be another one of those tough road losses where they just let it get away from them. But they showed the resilience they haven't showed yet much this season.
Yeah, it was surprising. I thought when they were down 3-1 at the second intermission, I thought they were done. They haven't played many good third periods this season. It's been a trend this year. And I thought it would be more of the same, but, they responded. They got one early, tied it up, and then really carried the play the last 10 minutes or so of the third. And it looked like they might even win it in regulation. But we're able to get the job done on a absolute snipe by David Pastrnak in overtime.
Yeah, it was a really good win at this point in the season for sure. And the rapid review has them at Seattle for game 2 of the trip after getting ball stomped in Winnipeg 8-1, and they turn around and they lose 5-1 to the Kraken in much a similar fashion. Just not a great effort at all on the trip, and it really started to think. And on that post game, we were even discussing how this could be a 5-game losing streak on a 0-5 trip and really taking on water. But it has turned around since. But this was another low. This is probably these 2 games here, the low point of the Sacco era.
Yeah, definitely the low point of the Sacco era. Outscored 13-2 on the first 2 games of the trip. You're really feeling bad about where the team's at. And then you're looking at, a Vancouver team that shut you out at home as the next game. So, definitely some worrisome times there. But, the Bruins were able to respond in the Vancouver game.
Yeah. And then, as we said, out of nowhere, a 5-1 win over Vancouver, who's not very good at home this season. But the Bruins put together one of their better efforts, one of the closer to 60 minutes of hockey for them. 5-1 win, and they sort of just won and sort of carried the play throughout.
They did. It was a good game from start to end for them, and they haven't had many of those this season. So it was good to see, especially against the playoff team. We've talked at length about how they've struggled against teams in the playoff picture. So a really good win on the road to kind of start to help maybe salvage this road trip a little bit.
Yeah. And then the Flames, and it looked like after a terrible first period, that even Elias Lindholm said was as bad as it can be at the intermission, the Bruins fall behind in the second period after a not so great second, 3-1 heading into the third. And you thought, well, typically this season, this one gets away from them, and they sort of let it go, could lose 5-1, 6-1. And that's what's happened in the past, even in this trip. Yeah. And instead, the Bruins really fight and scratch and claw. And Marc McLaughlin gets a huge goal, greasy goal, pretty much on his stomach, and ties it up at 3. And then Pastrnak with a snipe toward the end of a shift in the end of overtime, where he just kind of even admitted, I just threw it on net to see if it would go in. And it goes in, and the Bruins win.
Yeah, I mean, that's Pastrnak there in a nutshell for you. Like, he's just kind of cruising through the middle of the zone, and all of a sudden, just pulls one and rips one far side off the post and in, and ball game.
Right.
It didn't look like a nothing play. Like, Vancouver had a couple guys back. But that's why he gets paid what he gets paid, because can score goals like that. There's not many people in the league that can do what he did on that particular play. And that's obviously why he's their superstar and their leading goal scorer.
Yeah, and
So
that was a little bit of an exchange on the goal where Pasta wanted to change and McAvoy wanted to change, and Pasta said, "You keep it," and then McAvoy passed it to him and said, "You take it."
yeah,
And McAvoy was headed toward the bench. He wanted to change,
yeah,
and out the play, sneaky, terrible play by Kadri. He tries a sort of a home run play, try a one-on-one move that doesn't work, and then goes for a really lazy, slow change
yeah.
while it's the other way, and it ended up costing them.
Yeah, that things like that happen in 3-on-3. Like, if you make I'll call it a selfish play. I don't know if it was a selfish play, but a individual play in a 3-on-3 situation, and then you fail and go for a slow change, you're automatically giving the team, the opposing team, an odd man rush. And it ended up biting them. I mean, it's happened to the Bruins before. The Bruins have been notorious for having bad line changes at inopportune times. So this time it bit the Flames instead of the Bruins, which was nice to see for once.
Sure. All right. Seven Chirps is sponsored by Lops Brewing, and Lops is a brewery and tasting room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers. It's open 7 days a week. Use the code SPORTS to get 10% off your order at lopsbrewing.com. Follow them at Lops Brewing on social media for new beers and events. Chirps 1, would you invest resources into making this Bruins team a contender?
No, I wouldn't. But what I would do is, if you have pieces that are UFAs or RFAs that you're not interested in re-signing, I would look to move those guys. I would try to reshape the team on the fly and get some things back for assets that you don't want to keep. So I would still make some trades to try to improve the team. I just don't think you have enough or can do enough to turn them into a contender. They may still make the playoffs, and then anything can happen. If Swayman gets hot and they're playing well at the right time, anything can happen. But I wouldn't be looking to mortgage, the future. I'm not trading first round picks or anything like that to try to bring people in. So I'm looking to make some trades and try to improve the team, but it's really more from the standpoint of getting rid of some guys that you don't see as part of the future.
I think this team is really close to being one of those tempting teams where you think, well, we just got one more guy.
Yeah.
Especially if they keep kind of winning and hanging in there and they're close to a division title, don't quite get there, but you're like, geez, just one more guy, one veteran guy could help us. And it's a little tempting. I think it's fool's gold. I just wouldn't do it. And I'm with you. I would trade the UFAs and RFAs you're not interested in. I mean, if you're not interested in Johnny Beecher, then you package him.
Absolutely.
If you're not interested in Trent Frederic, Morgan Geekie, especially now where Geeks is playing much better,
sure.
like strike while the iron's hot. Like, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on those things. Parker, I don't care who it is, Wahlstrom, whatever. Like, you can position yourself, I think, toward the offseason where you could be in a better spot, like a pretty good spot in the offseason to try to get a couple of guys or make a trade that could really work. You could really help yourself. But recent history has shown that the Bruins stand pat. They stand pat a ton, and they squeeze the life out of whatever nucleus they have. They don't take risky moves. They don't, they kind of hang in, and then don't make a play on somebody, or don't trade a Jake DeBrusk, or don't trade Trent Frederic, and then end up losing them. And I just think it's poor asset management. I don't think trading Frederic is an interesting case because from what is being said, he has a lot of interest, but I don't really think he's moving the needle on this current team. So this is a perfect opportunity.
He's not at all. Yeah, he's not at all moving the needle on this team.
So if they think he's more valuable than you, then you let him go.
Yeah. I mean, if you're getting good offers, or if you can create some kind of a bidding war for him and drive the price up from contenders that see him as a piece that maybe they need, whether it's the toughness factor or a guy who can play on the third line and score goals or hits, or, whatever the case may be, whatever you think or they think he adds, drive the price up and then trade him, while you can get something good, especially if you're not going to re-sign him. And some of the contract numbers I've heard are outrageous for a guy who has done next to nothing this year. He's going to regress as far as his point totals from the previous 2 years. He's projected at 28 points. I think he had 40 last year, and 2 years ago he had 31. So he's under both of those totals. He's a minus player for the first time in a few years as well. So there's plenty of reasons to move on. He's replaceable. You have plenty of guys within your farm system or on the current roster that you could plug in there and then bring another guy up. So he's to me, in my opinion, he's 100% a trade candidate and a guy that you should move, because you don't want to keep him. You're not going to pay him the $4 and change million a year that he's looking for. So now's the time.
And that leads us right into Chirp 2. According to Elliotte Friedman of 32 Thoughts, Trent Frederic and the Bruins are reportedly not close on a deal. And would you move him at the deadline or hold him for a hopeful playoff run? I would move him 100%.
Yeah.
I would, like you said, get as many teams on board. Like maybe a Dallas would want him, or maybe who knows? Maybe a Colorado would want him. Maybe Minnesota. Maybe a team would even take him as a rental, knowing that he'll be a rental and really wants to make a playoff push and will give you a couple assets. Then do it. Like, just do it. If you don't think you're going to see, this is the thing. Like, this is the thing about Sweeney, is that he's had a lot of people take sort of discounted deals or, fair market deals. And you can't tell me that you wouldn't think that Swayman was, how do you not know that Jeremy Swayman wanted a certain number? Judging by his agent, judging by the things he was saying, I mean, he was pretty candid about, I want to set the market and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
How would you think that it would work? You know what I mean? So that's what I don't understand. Like, do you really think Trent Frederic's going to come down from whatever number he's throwing out there, or whatever his fair value is? I don't even know what it is. But do you really think you're going to meet somewhere on that? I just don't. I just think that Sweeney is really, he's just kind of.
I don't think he knows the marketplace.
Yeah, it really questions whether he does.
I don't think he does. They overpaid for Elias Lindholm. They overpaid for Zadorov. They let DeBrusk walk because they thought maybe he wasn't going to get the contract that he was looking for. I don't think he knows the marketplace. And if Frederic is hearing that he can get $4 and change, it's probably his agent being tampered with. Like, there's probably people reaching out to his agent saying, look, we'll give Freddie, $4 and change in the coming years. So I feel like now's the time for Sweeney to move him. And I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do it. I just don't. It's never been his MO to move a guy in season when they're in kind of the playoff picture. They don't want to take away from the core, from the group, blah, 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 all this bullshit. Like, sorry, John, but it's time. It's time. If he's not part of your plans, you got to move him now. Instead of letting him walk for nothing. It's a terrible asset management, especially for a team that needs assets, that needs a better farm system. Now's the time to do it.
I almost feel like if you were more that way, it would also give the players a little bit less of a sense of comfort. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the players are really comfortable. I feel like if you make one or two of those moves, that it just leads people to believe that I could be moved if I don't produce.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I
there's
agree.
that piece too.
Sure. I think that I agree 100%. I think that's a good point by you, that if these guys were a little less comfortable, maybe you get them to play a little bit harder at certain times and points and times.
Yeah. Chirp number 3. Oliver Wahlstrom claimed from the New York Islanders, a BC guy, a South Portland, Maine guy. Thoughts on the claim and the expectations for Wahlstrom?
I think the expectations are wildly out of touch.
Same with Tyler Johnson. I mean, people are just craving for someone to come in and score goals.
I think that's what it is that people know that they need goal scoring, and he was an offensive player, in college and junior hockey. So they see that. They also see he was a first round pick, 11th overall. So you see all of that, but he hasn't produced at the NHL level. But I like the signing just because there is offensive upside there. And maybe he needs a change of scenery. Look, the Islanders are a black hole of suck. They always have been. Mm-hmm. People like to leave there. John Tavares left there. Like, people don't stay on the islands because the team's terrible. No one cares, and it's just drab, kind of boring place to play. Mm-hmm. So maybe a change of scenery will do it. Maybe being closer to home will do it. But in my opinion, it's just a low risk, potentially high reward thing. So I don't see I don't have a problem with it. Maybe he fits in and he can find that scoring touch.
Yeah, we might find out Thursday night when they take on Edmonton. Hopefully, they have a decent game against Edmonton, because Edmonton gives them all the fits that any team would. Man, they have the size, the speed, the skill, all the things that would really give the Bruins a hard time are coming on Thursday night. So, maybe the Wahlstrom thing. Same with Johnson. Like, I mean, I get the point of the high risk, the low risk, high reward thing. I mean, I get it, but I just feel like you didn't have to do these things if you just went out and, instead of spending all sorts of money on Zadorov and Lindholm, just went out and got a couple of guys who could potentially score a few goals, 20 goals apiece or whatever, and then just, sort of live with it and then see what the kids could do. And then at the trade deadline, maybe you have a little bit of money, you can make a move or something. You know what I mean? I just feel like now they're grasping at straws.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, Sweeney himself said that they left the roster short. So
right, and that's
they
left the roster short because they got a guy who's a complete friggin' pylon who punches a guy every 15 games and coughs the puck up repeatedly for $5 million a year. Like, if you're left the roster short, why did you go get a guy you really didn't need? I mean, you could have gone with some other bargain basement defenseman playing third pair with Andrew Peak and been fine. Like, instead, you give all this money to this guy. So that's your fault. Like, you're short because you spent that money and resources on that guy.
I agree.
Stupid.
I agree. I think they overpaid for him. I think they overpaid for Lindholm.
Yeah.
And they did leave themselves short. They don't have enough scoring. They don't have enough scoring depth. They're finding it now a little bit with some of the, secondary scoring guys. McLaughlin scored and Georgii's getting them hot now a little bit, playing with Sacco and Pastrnak. So, maybe there's some hope there, but still they left themselves short.
Yeah, but I know why. Because he thought they'd get great goaltending and really good defensive structure, and they would be able to get by with their lack of goal scoring. That's what he thought. He thought, we'll be a defensive structure, really good goaltending, signed our guy, here we go. And it backfired. It didn't work that way. I mean, the defensive structure hasn't been as good at all. And their goaltending is he's got a 3-4-2 or whatever the fuck he's got. Like, he hasn't been nearly an 8.25, as Connor would say.
No, he would not. No, he is not.
There you have it. Like, there you have it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really question how he cannot build a roster.
No,
he can't.
I think he failed in the offseason. I think he failed in the offseason. And it just, everything kind of rolled over in the season. I think he messed up the Allmark trade. I think he messed up the Swayman signing. I think he misjudged that. He clearly misjudged the market on Lindholm and Zadorov. I think he was bidding against himself in those instances. The training camp was a mess, disjointed mess. They waited too long on firing Montgomery. They should have either done it in the offseason or done it earlier in the season when Montgomery had already seemed to check out. There's a number of issues that I have with Sweeney and the way he's handled this entire roster, this entire season. And I don't think he should be the one to build the new roster. I don't think he should be around for that. I don't think he's earned that right. I think he's made too many mistakes prior to that, and it shouldn't be him. It should be someone else. We'll see if that happens. If they sneak into the playoffs, he's probably still around. But I'm not confident in how he would kind of retool and rebuild this team.
Yeah. All right, chirp number 4. Elias Lindholm has had 2 of his better games against his former team, the Flames. Why not more often?
I wish I knew. Is he getting up even more for those games? I mean, he said Calgary has a special place in his heart. With him being there for a long time. I think he met his wife there, as one of his kids was born there. So, good memories there. And I mean, that happens with everybody.
It does.
DeBrusk scored a goal against Boston in the return back to Boston. So it's one of those things. But I would like to see him consistently play more like he's played in these games. And if that's the case, he's still probably overpaid, but maybe not as vastly overpaid as we think.
Yeah, right.
If he settles more into a number 2 center kind of role, then I mean, he's not a number 1.
No,
so
it's not.
Let's be honest.
But a good number 2 would be ideal.
But if he can be a good number 2 and score, do the Sacco Coyle thing where he has, 60-ish points and is good in the playoffs and he wins faceoffs and he's responsible defense, like all that's good. But he's still probably overpaid by a few million bucks.
Yeah,
but yeah, if he can play more like he played in these games, that would go a long way towards the Bruins kind of solving maybe some of their center issues and their push towards the playoffs.
Chirp 5, the Bruins have a decision to make on Marc McLaughlin, who scored against the Flames. When he gets to the 10-game threshold, he'll have to be sent through waivers to be sent down. I would imagine they'll send him down before then. Do you feel that that's happening maybe even Thursday?
It's possible they could do it Thursday just as a transactional move. I don't think he deserves to get sent down.
But another case of a younger guy who really kind of shows he belongs.
Yeah.
And you send him down.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
I'm going to pull the old, what do they say? Is it on Felger and Maz that you can't get blamed for something that hasn't happened yet?
Right.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that, he hasn't sent McLaughlin down yet. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe he stays and maybe they waive Tyler Johnson or, I mean, who knows? But he deserves to be here. He scored goals when he's been with the Bruins and he plays hard. He skates pretty well. He's kind of gritty. He was a captain at BC. So he knows the structure and the system and the leadership things, like that's all part of it. He's willing to block shots. He's just happy to be in the NHL. And I think you get kind of a bump throughout the room when guys that are fringe guys or guys that are happy to be in the NHL and come up and play as hard as they can. I think that you get a little bump throughout the rest of the roster because they give you a little extra energy that maybe you wouldn't get from a veteran guy who's been around a while.
Sure. And it's 6 goals in 22 games played as in his career. That's like a 22-game NHL season, full NHL season. That's a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah, that's a 20-goal score. That's better than one.
There's your 20-goal score. Yeah,
that's better than what Trent Frederic done.
There's your 20-goal score.
So there you go.
Yep. Chirp 6, we've talked about the Bruins turning a corner. Does the comeback win show anything about this team?
Possibly. I'll go there. I'm not ready to say they've turned a corner because, again, they're still, 5 wins and 5-14 against playoff teams or 5 and whatever it is against playoff teams.
Right.
Even after the win in Vancouver. Calgary's not a playoff team, but they do play decently well at home, and Wolf's been good. So that was an encouraging win. I'll go that far. It was an encouraging win because their third periods have been terrible. So that in and of itself was a turnaround. That was nice to see that they were able to get a couple goals to tie it, and then really put on the pressure towards the end of that game, and probably deserved to win outright in the third period. Based on the amount of pressure and chances they had. So encouraging, I'll say, but not out of the woods yet. There's still, even within that game, there was some lapses defensively in the second period that wide open slot shots. You can't give that to good teams. No. If you do that against Edmonton, you'll lose 7-0. I mean, Huberdeau walked down the slot in the first period wide open, and they're lucky he didn't score. I mean, he missed the net.
Oh my God, plain as day.
They still have some issues they need to clean up. They still have trouble when teams forecheck hard and the defense pinch down the walls of getting it out of their own zone. The defense in this game had a shit ton of giveaways. There's still issues there, but the third period resiliency and the comeback was definitely encouraging.
Yeah, and then Chirp 7. Is Charlie Coyle better at right wing at this point in his career?
He might be. And that unit, I think there was a tweet.
They outshot him 8-1.
Yeah, outshot him 8-1 with Coyle on the right wing. They flipped Brazeau and Coyle there, the lines. He might be a pretty good fit there with Marchand and Lindholm, doing some of the puck possession stuff down low and then getting the puck to Lindholm and Marchand to make plays. I would try it. I would stick with that and see if that can get Coyle going, because God knows he needs to get going. What he's done so far hasn't been good enough, and you really didn't notice him at all in this game until they made that switch. So I would try that out. I would be willing to try that out for a bit and see if maybe he's the answer there, until you can find someone better.
Yeah, I think so too. And I hopefully it does work out for them, because that would help them a ton if he could play some really good second line right wing, and then Brazeau and Frederic and Kastelik. All the more reason to send Frederic and see if we can get someone in that third line spot.
There's a decent player down in Providence that's doing a pretty good job down there that might fit that third line center spot.
Third line center, bang.
Yeah,
with Kastelik and Brazeau. A rose between two thorns, or a thorn between two, whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Every rose has a thorn.
Every rose has a thorn. All right, let's listen to this from DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook is Boston's hometown sportsbook. It's live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $250 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money line spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks. That's DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up with the code ITR to get up to $250 in bonus bets to use. Now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts, that's code ITR, and it's only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If your loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist, free and confidentially, 24/7. Must be 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA. Why can I
give him that phone number one more time?
Why can I say all the regular, the hard words, but I can't say 50 times in a row?
Yeah, you can't say 50-50.
I can't say 50 times in a row, but twice. I can say regulatory licensing requirements.
Oh yeah.
No, like I'm tongue twisting my life
off the tongue. Yeah, rolls right off the tongue. Hey Connor, start bench cut. What do you say?
I do have one this week, and in kind of the holiday theme, some people like to hang out with the fam, watch the movies. Maybe, some people are the Christmas moviegoers. So I had to think, what are a couple different sets of movies here that you guys can bust it down and tell me, out of these three wonderful trilogies, that you would start bench cut. And I have the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Godfather trilogy, and the Star Wars trilogy.
This is hilarious to me because I'm I'm going to go out on a limb and say Matt has not seen number 1 or number 3. So I think he's going to vote for number 2.
Did I cut 2?
But you go ahead.
I'll say this. I did when I was about 8. I did see Star Wars 1, I think, maybe. I think I saw Billy D. Williams.
I was going to say, I mean, even if you picked the early trilogy, it was during your age range.
Yeah, it was my time. So it's I probably saw Return of the Jedi at some birthday party, in elementary school. So I'm going to go Godfather, 100% start Godfather. Bench Star Wars, and then cut the hell out of anything J.R. Tolkien's ever done in his life. yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I really liked the first 2 Godfather movies a lot, but I was a Star Wars kid, so to me, I'm starting Star Wars. I'm benching the Godfather, and I did enjoy the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but yeah, that's third out of these. Out of these, man, I'm cutting.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have a nerdy producer. I mean, you know what I mean. You just got to throw the, and that's fine. I mean, it adds.
You
a little
should
bit of a
thank me that I didn't torture you and throw Harry Potter in there.
Oh my God, Harry Potter. The books are too long. I just don't have the focus.
It should have been the Hangover trilogy.
Yeah, there you go.
Or
the vacation movies.
The Lost Ark, maybe.
Yeah. The vacation movies, Indiana Jones. Even throw Indiana Jones in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Maybe after Tyler comes back from vacation, we'll do a comedy movie themed start bench cut.
There you go. Hey, don't sleep. I'll tell you what. Do not sleep on Cheaper by the Dozen. I love those movies with Eugene Levy and Steve Martin, with the 2 families competing. Those are pretty good movies.
Really?
Yeah, those I really like those movies.
I don't know if I've ever seen those movies.
Yeah, they were good. They would have 2 competing families doing these competitions, and they were like, Eugene Levy was like they were like the hot shots, and they'd always win, and Steve Martin was always a lovable loser type thing, and it was a pretty good.
Did you ever watch The Master of Disguise then, Matt?
No,
that was around that time frame with Dana Carvey or whatever.
Dana Carvey. Yeah,
there you go. That's a pretty good movie.
Is it? I'll have to check that one out too. All right, beauty for this week. Hey, how about this? A prospect. Well, I don't even know if he's a prospect anymore, but rookie Matthew Patra.
Gonna love you, eh? They're gonna be loving you from dawn until dusk.
Yeah, 6-game goal streak from Matt Patra. He's been outstanding. He's had 14 points. He's really dominating what you'd hope he would do.
Mm-hmm.
And they play tonight, I believe, on the NHL Network. I think the game's on tonight on Wednesday night to see if he can go to 7 games. You know who else has a 7-game goal streak? Your buddy Jake Gensel.
Yeah, he does.
He's got 7 straight games with a goal.
Yeah, he does. He'd look nice in black and gold.
He should. But Matty is doing well, so I think we're on the keep him down train. Like, keep him down.
Yeah,
let him develop
until you move somebody off this roster, and then plug them right in. Once you trade Trent Frederic for a 2nd-round pick or a good young center, fingers crossed, then you can plug Patra right in on that 3rd-line center role with Kastelik and Brazo, and roll with it and see what you can do there. So I'd be down with that. I'm in.
And the Bender is same as the old Bender.
Yeah, the Bender is our good friends, the Boston Bruins management.
The Bender.
And you know why they get it is because Matthew Patra is down there, and Fabian Lysell's down there, and Georgii Merkulov's down there, and they all should probably still be in the NHL.
Probably,
even though we're happy to see Patra developing down in the NHL in the AHL level. But they could have gone without the Riley Tufties and the Cole Kepties and the Max Joneses and the Tyler Johnsons of the world, and you should have given these guys a chance. They should have had a chance,
especially Merkulov. Like, I don't know what you think Merkulov's going to do down there that can help you determine, what he can do. If he can't do it, then just send him. Just package him with somebody, or just send him. Get a feeler out. Just get whatever you can from him. He was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah,
just get what you can.
he has he's having another good AHL season. He had a really good AHL season last year. He has an assist in 3 games when he did get a cup of coffee with the Bruins. So I mean, if you wanna play the the projected pace there, that's a 30 whatever point season.
Sure.
So I mean, I know it's 1 assist in 3 games, so it's tough to play that game, but at the same time, like, it's possible he can do it if you give him a chance.
Yeah,
but he hasn't gotten a chance. He plays, he's had under 10 minutes of ice time when he's been with the Bruins.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. They expect rookies to play perfect hockey.
They do.
When their own veterans play sloppy hockey a large portion of the time. Like, how do you expect a veteran doesn't play perfect hockey at all? You expect a rookie to do that?
Right.
Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand what the fear is. So you lose a game. I mean, is a rookie player really going to cost you a game? And if he does, it's 1 game. Like, for God's sakes. Like,
it's backwards. They handle it backwards. They give the veterans all the rope they could possibly need.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they hang themselves with it, making turnovers all over the place. Pasternak's notorious for turning the puck over. Marchand's done it a bunch. Certainly the defense, with the amount of giveaways they've had, are culpable in losing the team games. Brandon Carlo's been hideous, but they haven't thought about scratching him. But a rookie comes up and makes 1 bad play through the neutral zone, or doesn't back check hard enough, or whatever, and all of a sudden he's watching, or he's benched, and doesn't get enough time. You have to let the guys grow and make mistakes, and let them be creative if they're creative players. You let Pastrnak be creative, and you live with the turnovers. You have to let other creative players give them the same leeway. You do. And they're not going to try things to make plays at the NHL level if they know as soon as they make a bad pass, they're going to be benched for it.
Yeah.
It just leads to guys just dumping the puck in and being stagnant. And you're like, well, why isn't he being creative? Why isn't he making plays? Well, because you're going to bench his ass if he does anything wrong.
Right. And especially a guy like Lysell. I mean, that's Lysell's game. If he's going to turn it over, he's gonna be.
So is Merkulov. Like, I guarantee you, they'll come up and turn the puck over, but they might also be able to make good passing plays.
They might
and set guys up and make slot passes that lead to scoring chances. Like, you have to give them a chance to play their own game, play the way that they can play the way that's gotten them to this point, play the way that's allowed Merkulov to be one of the best players in the AHL. Like, you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a chance.
You do. All right, a poll this week we had on X. What is the Bruins' biggest need? The choices: center, scoring winger, defense depth. And a resounding win for scoring winger at 69%, center at 27%, and then defense depth at 4%. And lo and behold, it's 4%, but that's probably what they're going to get, is defensive depth at the trade deadline. But the scoring winger, and I think people understand now that they just can't get an elite center. So they're like us. They're like, if you can't do that, then get the next best thing. Get a really good scoring winger.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is difficult.
It really shouldn't be.
No.
It's like they're at the point where, it's the same with, the Patriots or any team that's struggling. Mm-hmm. You have to go with the best player available. So like, if the best player available is a scoring winger, and then it's a second, third line center, you go with the scoring winger. You need talent. You need high-end talent. That's what you're lacking. Mm-hmm. So you don't just fill it to fill it. Like, go get the high-end talent and build around the high-end talent. Supplement it with a really good checking center, which you have now. Mm-hmm. But you need the winger. You need the scoring.
They need a really good left wing. They need a really good left wing in that top line.
You can't find do that stuff.
Yeah, right.
So when they're available, like, that's what you can grab.
Yeah.
Grab them.
I would almost get Taylor Hall again if you can't do that. I would almost say, you know what? Let's get Taylor Hall for the rest of the year.
Sure.
I'd almost do that. It probably wouldn't cost you much, and you could put him on the left on the left wing on the top line with Pastrnak, or you could put him on the third line.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And help Potter or somebody. I mean, if you put Potter with Hall and something, that would certainly help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a huge move, but I get that Hall is, it is what he is now in his career, but I mean, it's better than what you have.
Yeah,
better
and
than
he's
Frederic there.
Yeah, I mean, Poitras with Hall and Brazeau, I think would be a pretty good line.
That would be a sneaky good line, I think.
Yeah.
All right, week ahead, 12-19 at Edmonton to finish up the trip. Then 12-21 against the Buffalo Sabres, who have lost currently 11 in a row on the season and are a complete dumpster fire after a drubbing in Montreal.
Yeah.
And then 12-23 versus the Washington Capitals, who are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tough little stretch here, and hopefully they don't drop the Buffalo game, but it is a tough little stretch. We appreciate everybody listening, as always, and check us out on Thursday night after the Edmonton Oilers game for Bruins Benders post-game live. You can join us in the comment section, have fun with us, and until then, I'm Maddie, and for Smitty, go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.